Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be discussing the American science fiction horror film Significant Other. Spoiler ahead. Watch out and take care. A couple deeply in love decides to embark on a camping adventure in the breathtaking Pacific Northwest for a few days. However, their once romantic getaway takes an alarming turn, threatening their very lives. One night, a mysterious red object falls ominously from the sky and lands deep within the dense forest. Nearby, a serene deer grazes peacefully, unaware of the unearthly bluish tentacle lurking behind it and attacking the helpless animal. The following day, the couple sets out on a drive along the road towards the nearest forest trail. Harry finds himself in high spirits, singing joyfully along to the radio's tunes while driving. His singing inadvertently awakens his girlfriend, Ruth, who playfully raises an eyebrow, urging him to be quieter. Harry promptly apologizes, but mischievously, he can't resist teasing her by singing even louder. Ruth playfully retaliates with a shoulder punch, which brings a smile to Harry's face. They eventually arrive at a snack bar near the forest trail, where they order their food eagerly. A young lad comes over with a tray, offering to collect any trash they might have, but his anxious inquiry about the red light falling from the sky leaves the couple perplexed. Before they can respond, the boy's mother calls him away, leaving them with unanswered questions. Having finished their meal, the couple sets off to their destination, the Red Ridge Trail. As they arrive, Harry notices the worry etched on Ruth's face. To ease her nerves, he shares that he's been to this area multiple times before. However, Ruth remains uneasy as they venture into the woods. Later, while Harry recounts his first kiss with his childhood girlfriend Belinda, Ruth feels something following them and looks behind her. Harry notices Ruth falling behind and urges her to catch up to reach the campsite before dark. At the campsite, Harry cooks while Ruth struggles with setting up the tent. Frustrated, Ruth asks for help, but Harry playfully declines, mentioning their respective duties. They sit together, eating the cooked food. Ruth jokingly promises Harry a reward if he sets up the tent, which he eagerly accepts, making her laugh. Later that night, Ruth goes out of the tent to pee and hears a noise from the trees. She shines a light towards the sound and spots a deer staring at her, unsettling her. Out of nowhere, Harry startles Ruth as he appears behind her, causing her to be frightened. He mentions that he couldn't see her when he woke up and wondered where she had gone. Ruth explains that she went out to pee and saw a deer looking at her, but Harry brushes it off, considering it normal deer behavior. He guides her back to the tent. The following day, the couple explores the forest and arrives at a cliff overlooking the ocean, a place Harry cherishes. With trembling nerves, he proposes to Ruth. To his surprise, her reaction is not what he anticipated. She experiences a panic attack and promptly takes her medication to calm herself down. After regaining composure, Ruth apologizes and gently declines Harry's proposal. She values their current relationship and doesn't believe marriage is the right path for them. Harry accepts Ruth's answer, but his voice betrays his hurt feelings before he walks away. While Harry sets up the tent, Ruth silently observes her heartbroken lover. She wants to discuss the proposal and asks him why he proposed when he knows she dislikes the idea of marriage. Harry advises her to open up about her relationship issues, just as she does with her therapist. He highlights how her parents' divorce has left lasting trauma, affecting her relationships and leading to outbursts. To avoid escalating the situation, Harry takes some time to cool off, leaving Ruth sighing in frustration, her face in her hands. The next morning, Ruth wakes up alone and finds a note from Harry, explaining that he went for a walk to clear his head. Impatiently waiting, Ruth searches for a phone signal to call her therapist, Dr. Ledlow. While wandering, she stumbles upon a horrifying sight, a dead deer with a split head and a corroded body covered in a black substance. Frightened, she retreats and finds comfort in Harry's arms, gasping for breath as she clings to him. Harry also notices the grisly scene and examines it with a look of disgust. Concerned, Ruth asks if this is the same deer she saw the previous night. Harry reassures her that it's not and tries to calm her down, guiding her back to the campsite. As night descends, Harry shows Ruth a book that mentions deer warts, which could explain the black substance on the deer's body. Noticing the danger of the creature still lurking, Ruth expresses her concern to Harry. He comforts her, reassuring her that they have a fire and animals won't approach them. Encouraged by his presence, Ruth opens up about her fear of commitment, stemming from her parents' dysfunctional marriage. Despite her reservations about marriage, she expresses her love for Harry and her desire to be with him. Understanding her fears and their unique situation, Harry smiles and they share a meaningful kiss. Later, as Harry prepares their meal, Ruth excuses herself to go to the bathroom. However, she gets distracted by a flower she had seen in the guidebook. While admiring the yellow flower, her attention is drawn to a glowing patch inside a nearby cave, igniting her curiosity. Inside the cave, Ruth discovers a puddle of blue liquidy substance and curiously prods at it with a stick. However, she senses something behind her and turns around slowly, letting out a terrified scream. Meanwhile, Harry waits anxiously for Ruth's return, growing concerned as she doesn't come back even after 30 minutes. Worried, he ventures into the woods, calling out her name until he spots her standing motionless among the trees. He expresses his worry and asks what kept her, to which Ruth replies that she got distracted. Though she apologizes for causing him distress, her expression remains dazed and unusual. As they continue their journey, Harry becomes increasingly aware of Ruth's strange demeanor. Later that night, Harry wakes up to find Ruth absent from their tent. Alarmed, he goes out to search for her, only for her to suddenly appear behind him. Harry asks why she has the blade, confused and concerned by her behavior. Dazedly, Ruth explains that she thought she had hurt an animal, but when Harry asks for the knife back, she hesitates to relinquish it. They return to the tent to rest, but Ruth remains awake throughout the night while Harry sleeps. In the morning, as they wake up together, Harry asks if she got any sleep, and Ruth lies, saying she did. While Harry packs their belongings, he notices Ruth's distant and aloof behavior. She apologizes for her strange reactions to his proposal and admits that she'd like to give marriage a chance, much to his delight. Ruth suggests they pretend it's the first time he's proposing, and she asks him to do it in the same spot. The couple stands near the cliff's edge, enjoying the breathtaking view. A few moments later, Harry kneels and proposes to Ruth once more, and this time, she happily accepts. After joyfully placing the ring on Ruth's finger, she passionately kisses Harry, who excitedly shares how he's never felt this way before. Unexpectedly, Ruth knees Harry in the groin and pushes him off the cliff, causing him to fall to his death onto a large rock below. Filled with panic, she flees through the woods, desperate to get away. Exhausted and overwhelmed, Ruth eventually collapses to the ground. Luckily, a couple named Ray and Vivian discover her and offer her water to drink. When they inquire about what happened, Ruth claims she can't remember. Feeling sympathy for her, Ray and Vivian insist she stays with them for the night, promising to take her back into town in the morning. In the safety of the campsite, Ray and Vivian express their concerns about something seriously troubling Ruth, not fully aware of the tragic events that have just unfolded. Ruth remains distant and quiet as Vivian attempts to engage her in conversation, asking about her hobbies. Ruth mentions her love for surfing, to which Vivian shares that she and Ray also enjoy surfing on the nearby beach, though they've been cautious due to the recent presence of sharks. After their talk, Vivian expresses her concern to Ray, believing that Ruth urgently needs medical attention. Unaware that Ruth has picked up their knife, they try to calm her down, but her attention fixates on a shadowy figure approaching them. In fear, Ruth raises the blade, and the couple realizes she is scared of the person coming towards them when he calls her name. Ray grabs the flashlight and shines it on the approaching figure, revealing that it is Harry, miraculously alive and unharmed. Vivian attempts to console a frightened Ruth, but Ruth quickly flees into the nearby forest. Vivian is following, while Ray is attempting to block Harry, who is sporting a sinister grin. The creepy man slowly approaches Ray, when Ray's hand is swiftly cut off. Harry raises his finger, which has somehow grown a dangerously long and sharp blade at the tip. Harry snickers evilly as he slices Ray's head down the middle. Meanwhile, Vivian finally catches up to Ruth, who's hiding behind a dead tree. The older woman tries to comfort Ruth, when Ray's voice suddenly sounds out, calling for them. Vivian tries to reunite with her husband, but Ruth begs her not to. The married woman slowly walks toward the light and asks Ray what happened to Harry. As the woman approaches her husband, she's horrified to witness his head split in two. She attempts to escape, but Harry injures her back, causing her to collapse. Harry then summons Ruth, threatening harm to Vivian unless she shows up. Ruth walks towards him slowly, but Harry betrays his promise and fatally wounds Vivian instead. Ruth tries to intervene, but Harry easily overpowers her. He demands to know how she discovered he wasn't the real Harry. Fearfully, Ruth confesses finding the real Harry inside a black cocoon with his head sliced open in the cave. She fled in panic and took her medication to calm down. As Ruth stands in the woods, she deduces that the monster may have killed her lover and assumed his appearance. Just as Harry arrives on the scene, feeling frustrated with his choice of a cave too close to their campsite. Curious and suspicious, Ruth confronts the imposter, demanding to know his true identity. He reveals himself as a scout from another planet, sent to observe and report back about Earth to his kind. Now that his deception is exposed, the creature feels compelled to eliminate Ruth to protect his secret. The creature attempts to harm Ruth but is troubled by an unfamiliar hesitation. He realizes he has absorbed Harry's deep affection for her. Tearfully, Ruth pleads for mercy and vows to keep his secret hidden. Harry, now more aware of his emotions, confesses his love for her. Taking advantage of a momentary distraction, Ruth makes a dash to escape. The creature, now enthralled with love, pursues her, promising not to cause harm and expressing his exhilaration. Exhausted, Ruth halts and decides to confront the creature, who playfully engages in her resistance. Despite the creature's proposal to replicate her lover with all his emotions and memories, Ruth remains resolute, continuing to resist him. Frustrated by her resistance, the creature finally opens up about what he desires from her. Excitedly, Harry expresses his wish to show something to Ruth. They reach the shore, where the creature confides that love is an unknown concept in his homeland and considers it a unique human emotion. Unveiling his upside-down teardrop-shaped spaceship, he reveals his intention to depart from Earth, and he desires Ruth to accompany him. As the creature remains unaware, Ruth's gaze falls on the knife tucked in his pants. Harry explains that he wants to take Ruth with him to ensure her safety, as more of his kind are planning to arrive and invade Earth. The alien assures Ruth of a beautiful life and she attentively listens. Reluctantly, she agrees to the creature's proposal and allows Harry to kiss her. Seizing the opportunity, Ruth grabs the blade as he turns to lead her into the spaceship. Fearlessly, she points the knife at him, frustrating the creature with her defiance. Without hesitation, Ruth stabs the alien in the chest and escapes into the sea, with the man pursuing her. Unaware of the danger, the creature's wound attracts a lurking shark. Just as Harry is about to reach Ruth, the shark appears and attacks him. Ruth struggles to make her way back to the shore, fighting through the waves. After finding refuge at the seaside, Ruth makes a desperate dash into the woods, trying to escape from the creature. However, her efforts prove futile as the creature manages to defeat the shark and continues to pursue her. Exhausted and scared, Ruth eventually arrives at Vivian and Ray's abandoned campsite. Ignoring her hunger, she hastily consumes the leftover food, unaware that Harry is closing in on her. The creature, sneaking up on her, launches a surprise attack with its tentacle, striking her in the back of her neck and subduing her. Later, Ruth awakens in a state of panic, realizing she is trapped inside a black cocoon, with the creature's blue tentacle attached to her body. The creature declares his intention to absorb her, so they can merge as one, since Ruth rejects being with him. The draining process commences, and Ruth moans in agony as the creature starts absorbing her. Ruth spots her medicine canister and devises a clever strategy. Exploiting the weaknesses and traumas the alien absorbed, she triggers a panic attack in it. The creature pleads for her help when it realizes the canister is empty. Seizing the moment, Ruth breaks free from the cocoon and violently defeats the creature. She manages to escape to her car and speeds away. But her relief is short-lived as the alien communicates through the car radio, taunting her with its knowledge about her life. Feeling helpless and overwhelmed by her grim fate, Ruth can only shed tears. Meanwhile, ominous signs appear in the sky, indicating that the invasion has only just begun. Thank you for watching our recap. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and feel free to explore our other recaps.